With Tennessee getting a linebacker from the transfer portal on Wednesday, I thought we'd break down the linebacker position for 2023 here on a Friday Locked On Vols. We'll learn more about Keenan Pili, and we'll hear from a Tennessee signee. All that and more here on a Friday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols. It is your team every single day, and I'm your host, Eric Kane. So glad that you guys elected to spend some time with me here on this Friday. We need 6K by Christmas Day. Only a couple of days left. We still have some work to do, making decent progress, but I know you guys, if you're watching or listening and you have a YouTube subscription and you haven't done it yet, I know you're going to help a brother out right here by going and subscribing to the Locked On Vols podcast. That is 6K by Christmas Day, just a couple of days left. That is the goal, and I appreciate you guys for already doing that and for always supporting the show. All right, coming up on today's show, we got a fun topic to get into. We're going to break down the 2023 linebacker, that group. Who's coming back, who's leaving, all that type of stuff, who's coming in. We're going to catch up with my guy, Jake Hatch, Locked On Cougars. He's going to break down who Keenan Pili is, Tennessee's latest get from the transfer portal, linebacker from BYU. And then in segment 3, we're going to hear from Jack Luttrell, his appearance on Sports Talk, 99.1 The Sports Animal. And I'm going to play part of that interview here on a Friday show. So really looking forward to all that. And today's episode is brought to you in part by BetOnline. BetOnline has got you covered with more odds and props and odds and lines than ever before. That's what happens when you try to do it from memory. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Okay, so the linebacker position, near and dear to my heart. Love linebacker position. It got so much better. It got so much better this year. Was it perfect? No. Were they above average? No. Were they average? Probably. Just the individual development from the guys in that room from one year to the next was mind-blowing, really. I mean, I think Brian Jean-Marie has done an excellent job with this group. They were much better, instinctive, running downhill, attacking downhill. They were better in their pass drops. Weren't great. They were not great, and the big reason why Tennessee's pass defense was so horrible this year at times was, the lack of dropping from their linebackers. They improved, but they weren't great in that regard. But they got better overall. I mean, they really did. And so when we're projecting what this room and what this group will look like in the coming season in 2023, the conversation starts with Aaron Beasley. Aaron Beasley did not play well as a true starter in 2021. He was thrust into action after having no experience, really hardly any experience at linebacker, but no work in spring practice because of an off-the-field incident back in 2021. But he came in and he graded out, I want to say, from like a 48.6 to a 69.1 according to his Pro Football Focus grade from one year to the next. If you guys can hear my phone buzzing, I'm sorry. It's ridiculous that I'm so popular like that, But Aaron Beasley improved so much, and he was Tennessee's best player at points and times on defense this year, specifically in the first two games. His first two starts, Juwan Mitchell missed the first 2 games of the season. Aaron Beasley started alongside Jeremy Banks, and I want to say he had like 20-some-odd tackles in the first 2 games, and he had 22 stops, and he had 64 tackles on the season, finishing first. And he was second behind Byron Young with 9 TFLs in 2023. Really instinctive player, got a whole lot better. And then when Juwan Mitchell was back, and it was pretty much, you had 3 starters, 2 positions, 3 starters, Juwan Mitchell, Jeremy Banks, and Aaron Beasley. And those guys just kind of rotated and had a nice little thing going. Solon Page was also there to give you anywhere from 10 to 20 snaps a game. So he looked really good. So Aaron Beasley will be back. He will be a starter for this football team. After that, in terms of experience, we'll have to see. Juwan Mitchell has another year of eligibility. I thought it was a slam dunk earlier in the season that he was coming back. I'm not as sure anymore. We'll just have to see how the next couple of weeks play out. We will see, but he does have a year of experience left. He rebounded, played much better this football season. And so if Tennessee is able to get Juwan Mitchell back and get the player that he was this past year, I think you'll welcome that with open arms, right? He was in and out of the lineup, missed, 3 or 4 games, for the season, had 41 tackles. That was 7th best on the team. He had an interception, returned to 48 yards. That was on the Danico Slaughter hit stick play against Kentucky. Really solid bounce back effort for Juwan Mitchell. We'll see if he's in the plans for next year. Behind those guys that are set to return, Quasi Garland, that is Pat Garland, number 15. He is a guy that has been right on the brink the last couple of years. He was going to play some type of role this year. He was not just going to be a guy that got in on mop-up duty. He was going to play some type of role this year, but he got hurt in the first game of the season against Ball State, and that sidelined him the rest of the way. Elijah Herring saw opportunities. Again, I just love that story. Essentially, they took him. They didn't know if they liked him. Fell in love with him over the summer, came in, and he played a little bit as a true freshman at linebacker. Good special teams player as well. And now you signed his younger brother, Caleb Herring, as well. So Elijah Herring, I like him. I think they like him a lot. I think he'll be a big-time player for Tennessee next year at linebacker. Caleb Perry, who predominantly saw all his work on special teams, but they like him as well. You have a walk-on in Jackson Hanna, who used to be on scholarship in Nebraska as well. And so those are the returners that we're speaking of in this group. Who's gone from this linebacker group? Well, maybe Juwan Mitchell. We don't know yet, but maybe Juwan Mitchell. But Jeremy Banks will be gone. Jeremy Banks, who technically has a year left of eligibility, but he's already accepted his invitation to the East-West Shrine Bowl game. That is an all-star postseason game, and that means he cannot return. Didn't expect him to return regardless of that anyway, but he was third on the team this year with 53 tackles. Did miss one game, of course. We all know that. That was a South Carolina game. His production was down from last year, but I think he still got better as a linebacker. I think that's a testament to the guys around him as well as getting better as well. Like, it wasn't just Jeremy Banks making plays in the middle of the defense. Now, he made a lot of plays. He played more under control and within himself, I feel like, this season. But he had 128 tackles in 2021, only 53 here this season. Really good blitzer, one of the leaders in terms of TFLs on the team. But Jeremy Banks will not be back next football season, so that's the biggest one Tennessee's missing. And then I mentioned Solon Page. Solon Page Sr., or technically Solon Page is the third. So Solon Page the third, maybe I'm referencing Solon Page the second. Listener viewer of this podcast. I saw him back during camp this past football season. So Mr. Page, if you're watching right now, thank you. Solon Page is going to be gone for this team. He's exhausted all of his eligibility. Saw a lot of run in 2021. Played more of a reserve role in 2022, but still played anywhere from 10 to 20 snaps. A veteran, leadership, really good guy to have around these other guys, and a guy that you can count on to go in there and give you some snaps. But Solon Page is now gone from this football team, having graduated probably with a couple of degrees by now. And so who's coming in to become volunteers? Well, Tennessee signed 3 linebackers. Arian Carter, who committed to Tennessee last week. You have, of course, Jalen Smith and Jeremiah Thielander, both from the Peach State, Georgia. Those guys are 2 of the more productive linebackers in all of Georgia. Jalen Smith is a tackle machine, playing at one of the best high schools in the state of Georgia, and that's Grayson High School. Jeremiah Thielander, again, I think is criminally underrated. All 3 of those guys are here and going through bowl practice as well ahead of the Orange Bowl, but you can't, of course, play into that. So I thought this linebacker group was not good at all in 2021. I thought that they had no depth. They had no rotation. But they got better, and they've added reinforcements, and now you're seeing the development of that group. And so I really, really like this group. And you're going to be added to it with Keenan Pili, who is coming over by way of BYU from the transfer portal to finish his collegiate career here at Tennessee. He is 24 years old, he's got loads of experience, and we're going to catch up with Locked On Cougars host Jake Hatch next segment to learn all about Tennessee's linebacker Keenan Pili from the transfer portal. All right, so that's what's coming up here next, right here on Locked On Vols. But quick, a special shout out to the NHTSA this holiday season. Did you know that driving high is considered driving under the influence? That's right, driving under the influence of marijuana is against the law in every single state, even in the states where marijuana is legal. That means driving high could get you a DUI. If you think law enforcement officers can't tell when you're driving high, you're simply wrong. Your friends can tell, your coworkers can tell, even parents can tell. Everyone can tell. So what makes you think the law officers won't be able to tell that you're driving high? Driving under the influence of marijuana can slow your response time down and change how you perceive time and speed. So even if you think you're fine to drive when you're high, you really aren't. Because the bottom line is, if you feel different, you drive different. And driving high is driving under the influence. So remember, drive high, get a DUI. This is paid for by the NHTSA. All right, guys, welcome back into your Friday edition of Locked On Vols. Locked On Vols, it is your team every single day. Appreciate you for being with us here today. And it was a really busy week for the University of Tennessee. You had signing day on Wednesday. You also had a new transfer out of the transfer portal, linebacker from BYU, Keenan Pili. And here to break down his play is Locked On Cougars host Jake Hatch. Jake, appreciate you taking the time and joining us here today.
Absolutely, Eric. Anytime you need me. What's going on, my friend?
All right, man. Tell us about Keenan Pili. Kind of a unique story here. He's an older guy, 24 years old, coming to Rocky Top for his final season of eligibility. What can Vol fans expect from its new linebacker?
What I love about Keenan Pili is he's actually a BYU legacy. His older brother was a multi-year starter on BYU's defensive line. He is a multi-year starter at BYU in his own right at linebacker, and his younger brother actually is currently at BYU as a linebacker as well. So there's a long line of Pilis playing at BYU. The one thing I can tell you about Keenan Pili is you're not going to find a better just a human being overall. This is a kid, as you mentioned, a little older, did serve a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Most of your fans will know it as the Mormon Church. That's why he is 24 years old coming to Knoxville. But the one thing that on the field that you'll see from him is he plays 100% all the time. That's the one thing you'll see. He plays sideline to sideline. He spent this last year coming off an ACL tear in 2021. I don't necessarily think he was ever at nearly what he was before that ACL tear this year, but it can take guys really a full calendar year before they're back to 100%. So the thought is that him at Tennessee will be the version of what we saw in 2021 before that injury versus what we saw in 2022 in Provo.
For those of us that are unfamiliar with, the missions and how if you're a BYU football player, if you attend that school, you got to go on a mission trip of some sort. Kind of give us some background on that, and then a little bit on Keenan's. He was originally signed in 2016, correct?
Yeah, so let me clarify one thing. You don't necessarily have to serve a mission. It is highly encouraged among youth in the LDS church to go on missions. I actually did serve a mission myself. I spent 2 years in Taiwan. What it is on a mission, you're not doing anything football-wise. If you think that he was working out, doing extra weight room workouts, that type of stuff, there's none of that. You get about 15 to 20 minutes in the first thing in the morning to work out, really, and that's about the extent of your physical exercise outside of if you're in a mission where you're walking around. Okay, you get some extra exercise walking and that type of stuff. I rode a bike for 2 years myself, so that's the thing about this is those mission trips that they're not a super secret way to get ready for football. A lot of these guys come back, and it takes them actually almost a full year, similar to that ACL tear, to get back to it playing shape in many ways. So yeah, he did sign in 2016, did not enroll at BYU until the 2019 season. But the biggest thing is that I think that life experience for a lot of these guys, it gives them a little bit of perspective that they know what they're after. Keenan is after an NFL career, and I think he sees this step up in competition going to the SEC as just another step in the progression of hopefully living out his dream playing professionally.
Now, was it always common for them to take their mission before coming to school, or could it be after, or does it really matter?
So that's the interesting part about it. So you have to be 18 years old before you can leave. So you have to have graduated high school. That's the rule now. When I was of mission age, I guess I should say, I'm in my mid 30s now. So I'm a decade and a half removed from this. The mid age was 19 actually. So I actually did a full year of school before I went on my mission in college. It was what I'm speaking of. And that used to be more of the standard. Now with it being 18, you can go immediately out of high school. By and large, if guys are going to serve missions, they do go on the mission and then come home and then enroll in school and then play football from that point forward. But there's no definitive rule as to how and why you have to do it, but that's typically how things work out.
And BYU always honors those scholarships, essentially, right?
Yeah. So when it comes to guys at BYU, with regards to how they manage their roster, they actually have 7 year. They have like this spreadsheet that has 7 years in it. They automatically split 2 years off for that mission service. So they actually are projecting out 7 years in advance for every recruiting class of guys who are going to go on missions, knowing that, okay, there's a potential redshirt year they'll add into the mix there, and then 4 playing years ostensibly for them. And so roster management at BYU is a little more convoluted than most programs, and the fact you're in the transfer portal and all this other stuff. I don't envy any of the coaches at BYU trying to figure all this out.
Yeah, add a COVID year in there as well. I mean, it's tough for everybody else. Just think of a COVID.
That's the other thing about that. So during the COVID pandemic, at the height of it, The LDS Church actually pulled 90 some odd % of their missionaries home. So guys were coming home that BYU was planning on saying, hey, we'll see you in a couple of years. All of a sudden they're like, hey, so I'm home and ready to play. It caused all kinds of issues.
We're going to get back to Keenan Pili here in a moment. I'm intrigued just learning all this. So it's safe to say BYU pretty much every single year has the oldest roster in college football, right?
Yeah, they're right up there. The University of Utah is probably University of Utah and Utah State are probably 2 and 3 in that mix, but somewhere between 50 at any given time at BYU, between 50 and 70% of that roster are guys who have either served missions, are going on missions, or guys that are out in the mission field at that given time.
Wow. Okay. And I'm really intrigued too, getting Keenan Pili here on campus. I mean, Tennessee's got one starter returning for sure. We'll see about another one, losing an impact player at linebacker, but has a couple of guys, including 3 they signed yesterday, who just need to develop in the program, younger guys. And so I think a presence like Keenan Pili will be good for them. What is his best strength on the field? When he's at his best, what does he do? What type of linebacker is he?
He's a guy who is all about pursuit. He plays to sideline. If anybody wants to see what I think Keenan Pili is capable of being like for Tennessee, go watch the first 3 games of the 2021 season for BYU. They played Arizona, Utah, and then Arizona State. He actually tore his ACL in that Arizona State game. But if I recall correctly, in those 3 games before tearing his ACL, he was already north of 40 tackles. He was just an absolute animal all over the field, playing sideline to sideline, chasing guys down from behind. That's the one thing I can tell you about this is a guy who doesn't give up on plays. At times, though, that relentless nature of his can get him out of alignment, get him out of position. He can give up inside leverage, that type of stuff, because he's so aggressive in that. And that's something we saw pretty glaringly this year for BYU. But like I said, I think it's going to be a better version of Keenan Pili that they're going to see in Knoxville versus what we saw in 2022, just because he'll be that much more removed and have that extra time to let that knee get fully to 100%.
He played in the middle, right? Middle linebacker.
Correct. Yeah, he was their mind.
What was the defensive set? Was it a 4-3, 4-2-5? What does BYU run?
I call it a multiple defense.
Okay.
They have run variations of a 4-3, a 4-2-5, 3-3-5, and a 3-4 in different scenarios. The one thing I know about Keenan is he has adapted to every single one of those alignments, whether it's been guys in front of him, a 3-man alignment, a 4-man alignment. He's had 2 or 3 guys flanking him on the field. There's even some dime packages at times that he's been ostensibly truly the only linebacker on the field. There's other guys that are hybrids that are out there, but he is a guy that I think is super versatile in that respect. He can adapt to essentially any set, I feel like.
Well, that's college football now, so multiple defenses are pretty much the base defense. You got to be able to do it all. How's his speed? You mentioned sideline to sideline, pretty decent speed.
I'm expecting that speed to come back in 2023. 2022, he seemed like he was just a step off, and I'm projecting that more on the ACL issue. And that's the thing. When he was in 2021, I'm telling you, he was chasing down running backs who I think he had no business chasing down early on that season. Those are Power 5 level running backs. I said Arizona, Utah, and Arizona State, all Pac-12 programs, and he was chasing down running backs, quarterbacks. He was just making life miserable for these teams. So I think that, with that extra time now to get himself back to, I think, fully 100%, you're going to see a guy who truly has the speed to compete sideline to sideline.
So where's he at weight-wise right now? You see him a lot. I mean, you probably saw him every single day. Listed 237 on the roster. Is he 240 or is he 230?
I'd say he's probably closer to about 230, but that 237 is a pretty accurate number. I would imagine he probably starts the season at around 237, 240, and typically guys are going to drop a little bit of weight during the season. I know BYU, they lift every day. They had their guys squatting every day to keep that body weight up. And I've talked to enough guys down there who said that I vary between about a 5-pound difference week to week in season. So I think that 237 number is actually a pretty solid number for him. And
he was team captain, I want to say, 2 seasons, right?
Correct. Yeah. And that's the thing about this. That's the other thing I probably should have mentioned, his leadership capability. This is a guy, he was voted captain 2 times at BYU. I think Tennessee fans are really going to enjoy him. He's not necessarily the most outspoken guy. He leads more by example versus actual like demeanor and speaking out. But there are different types of leadership. And there's a reason why his teammates saw what he's capable of doing and named him a team captain twice.
And he's leaving BYU simply because he wants to get to the NFL and he thinks the path from the SEC will help him get there quicker.
I haven't had a conversation with him, but I think that's got to be the thought process for him. I think that he just wants to take another step towards living his dream in the NFL. And I think that he sees an opportunity to play in the SEC as an opportunity to show what he's capable of. He's done this in independence. They've played Power 5 adjacent type schedules at BYU. They're going into the Big 12 this year. I can tell you this much. BYU would have loved to have had him on campus for another year to help lead them into the Big 12 era. And I think we can also acknowledge the elephant in the room. There's an NIL component as well at play here.
Yeah. And this guy is 100% disappointed that game with Tennessee and BYU got moved for next year, because I wanted to go cover a game in Provo. I see the pictures. I was so mad when they canceled this game.
Well, John Neighbors from Locked On Razorbacks, of course, the Arkansas podcast here on the network, he actually came out for that game this past October, and had a great time. I told you, Eric, we've talked in the past. I told you I would host you to dinner and all kinds of stuff. So maybe one day down the road, Tennessee can make that trip out here to Provo.
Oh, man. And to drop it to do a game in Nashville against Virginia, I mean, I know there was a ton of stuff in play, but oh, well, anyway. All right, Tennessee's getting Keenan Pili, and a mature 24-year-old linebacker who is going to help out Tennessee in a big way in 2023. Jake, great stuff, man. Appreciate it. What do you got going on at Locked On Cougars? You work at Locked On Cougars. You work at one of the most prominent radio clusters in America. You know our boss, David Locke. I mean, you got a pretty unique story, right? What's going on with you?
Not too much. Yeah, doing the radio thing. I produce our morning show here in Salt Lake City. We're the radio home of the Utah Jazz, working for in the Bonneville Corporation. But love doing what I do. Love talking all things BYU. We got plenty to cover out here. We had a nice change in the coaching staff. I guess nice is relative, but completely gutted the defensive side of the coaching staff. They're changing that. They just announced a new NIL collective that's officially endorsed by BYU. So we got a lot cooking out here in Provo.
Awesome stuff, man. Jake, appreciate it as always, and we'll do it again, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Big thanks to Jake Hatch for stopping by and giving us the 411, the lowdown on Tennessee's linebacker from the transfer portal, Keenan Pili. All right, we're going to hear from a Tennessee signee, defensive back Jack Luttrell. He made an appearance on Sports Talk with Jimmy Himes and John Wilkerson. That was earlier in this week. We're going to hear from Jack Luttrell when we return right here on Locked On Vols. One more segment left here of this week's edition of Locked On Vols. We'll be back on Monday, ready to rock and roll. Probably pre-record the episode for Monday before I leave on the flight Sunday night, Christmas nights, and we'll have it ready for you Monday morning. And then shows Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday will be from South Beach, not literally South Beach, but I'll be in South Florida, okay, in Miami, and we're going to be having bowl coverage of Tennessee against Clemson for the Orange Bowl. So really looking forward to that. I teased on the other side, Jack Luttrell, Tennessee's longest commit for the class of 2023. He committed to Tennessee in August of 2021, coming off a junior day. I was there. I remember I talked to him on the day that he committed to Tennessee, and he stayed true to the Volunteers for a year and a half, almost a year and a half. And so that is hard to do, but really dynamic player. He'll play safety at Tennessee. He can play wide receiver as well. He's a great kick returner. He's a 3-star rated prospect per on 3. Really nice player, dynamic. Absolutely showed out at the camp circuits going into his junior year. And then he even went camping a little bit going into his senior year. He looked really good, and he helped build this class for the University of Tennessee. He made an appearance on Sports Talk, 99.1 The Sports Animal, my old radio station, with the afternoon drive show, Jimmy Himes and John Wilkerson. Really good stuff here from Jack Luttrell. I pulled part of this interview. I wanted to play it right here on Locked On Vols. Give this a listen. Jack Luttrell on Sports Talk.
What is it like to be committed to school for a year and a half and then finally sign those papers?
I mean, it was a great feeling to have my family there with me, the coaches in attendance, just watching me finally put that pen to paper. It was huge, kind of a sigh of relief, just all that hard work, all that commitment, and all those words finally went to paper and got everything signed and officially done.
Your parents have a lot of ties to Knoxville and the Knoxville area. How did you end up in Moultrie, Georgia?
Yeah, well, my dad's a high school football coach, so my senior year, he took the job down there at Colquitt County, and he's my coach, he's my dad, so I followed him. Our whole family moved down there, and I finished with a great senior season.
So what was it like to be a Packer, and what did your time at Colquitt County and your high school career done to prepare you for this transition now to the SEC?
Oh, it was great. The people down there accepted me up like super fast. I mean, we got down there. At first, it was just some of our family, so we moved down there with just me, my dad, and my sister. They helped us in any way the community could. They were there to always help us. And then on the football side, I mean, it was a lot of work, and I got used to working. I learned how to enjoy the work, enjoy the physical sides of football, and then the mental sides, like going to film, watching film on yourself, taking notes, all that. So I think the best thing that my time down there taught me was just how to prepare for the SEC, and I think it made sure I was ready for this.
You've been recognized by the AJC for your versatility. It's remarkable to see all that you are capable of. A demon on special teams, on offense, almost 900 yards receiving, almost 500 yards rushing, and almost 250 yards passing. And then you had more than 1,000 yards in kick returns and almost 300 in punt returns. And then you're also outstanding on the defensive side. Is there an aspect of the game that you enjoy the most, or is it just simply being out there as many plays as possible?
Oh, I mean, I love to win. I love to compete, and I love to win. And anything I can do to help my team, help my coaches, help the community win, I'm going to do. And in my high school career, felt like I was all over just doing the most I could just to help us win. But I just like to win, and I like to compete.
Our guest, Jack Luttrell. Jack, let's talk a little about your family. So your dad played at Carter High School, and then he went to Carson Newman. What positions did he play?
He played linebacker. He played linebacker at Carson Newman, and then my mom played soccer at Carson Newman. And my uncle also played running back at Carson Newman. So the family ties to Knoxville and the family ties to the Tennessee area, they're huge. My family was super excited that I chose to come back here. My older brother also, he's playing quarterback at Carson Newman right now. So it's Tennessee's kind of the family state right now.
Yeah. You played your junior year at Hebron Christian Academy in DeKalb, Georgia, and then you went to Colquitt County. What led to that transfer?
It was just the opportunity to prepare myself better for the SEC. It was needed, definitely after my junior year. Talked to my dad about it, that it was needed to find a place that gets me ready to come up here to Tennessee. And I mean, he took the job down there. He was the strength coach and linebackers coach down there at Colquitt. But yeah, I had to follow him. I had to trust my parents' decision, and that's what led to me going down there.
You also starred in soccer. You were an all-region performer, and I'm just wondering, how, Jack, did soccer help you in football, and how did football help you in soccer? I hope you didn't draw any yellow cards from being seeking contact.
Oh, there was definitely a couple of yellow cards that I got during my soccer career. But I mean, I think soccer helped my my footwork a lot, just because in the game of soccer, you got to keep the ball at your feet. You got to have some vision, which I think also helped me playing safety a lot. And then, I mean, just the speed and agility aspect of soccer translates a ton to the football field. And then also playing on a basketball court. I grew up playing basketball versus my older brother, playing pickup games every chance I could get. So I think all the sports I've played kind of correlate and has helped me get to the point where I'm at right now in football.
Well, as Jimmy mentioned, and you already spoke to, you committed to Tennessee, not summer of 22, but summer of 21. What was it like to watch Tennessee its first year under Josh Heupel and his staff, and then see the program take such a giant step this past season as well?
Oh, I mean, it was good. It was really good just to see the commitment between myself to Tennessee, but also Tennessee to like Coach Heupel in Tennessee. Because when I did commit, Coach Heupel told me, he said, "This is like, we're not a 4-6 team. We're a national championship team, and we're going to get back to that place." And that's what I committed to. I committed to Coach Heupel and his plan, and I trusted him. And I mean, it worked out. I'm super glad that the season they had was really good. But we're still going to try to get better.
Well, so that was a promise that he gave you, but then what was it like to see Tennessee win 10 games and be ranked number 1 in the college football playoffs initial rankings?
Oh, I mean, it was great. There was some really good games to watch, and then there was some bad ones too. But I mean, it's my whole senior season. I came up here as much as I could, but just watching it on the TV, trying to analyze what the defense does, what the punt return man does, what Tennessee does, and how they play. It was really cool just to have a whole new outlook on what I need to be watching for, because I'll be playing with these guys and I'll be on the roster, I'll be at practice, I'll be in the locker room with these guys. So it was great to see what they accomplished this year. But I mean, I think we can all agree there's still a lot of work to be done, and I'm committed to that, and I'm ready to put the work in.
You averaged almost 33 yards on kickoff returns. What do you like about returning kicks?
Oh, I like the chance. Like, there's always a chance that you can make a cut and get drilled. You could get your head knocked off, and then there's a chance you can make a cut and you'd be free and you got the time to take off. And I mean, I grew up a pretty dangerous kid. I was on scooters, got stitches in my forehead. Like, grew up taking chances, and I think that's what I like most about kickoff return is once I get the ball, it's all right, 11 dudes trying to come tackle me. Let's take a chance and see what happens.
Do you think you're better at kick returns than punt returns?
I really don't know. I haven't checked. I don't really check my stats too much. I just like to go out there and play. But I'd say I'm more comfortable returning punts just because I can see it all. I feel like I can see it all faster, and most of the time, the punter is scared to punt it to me in high school. But I think I'd say I like punt return more.
As Jimmy mentioned, you were the very first commit to the 23 class for Tennessee, so you've had a chance to watch this group come together and grow and get to know essentially everybody. Who have you been able to strike a pretty close bond with as this group has come together as the next wave of Tennessee Volunteers?
Oh, I mean, it's been great just getting to know all these guys because, like, being the first commit, you watch guys come in, you watch them on their official visits, you watch them meet the coaches, you see them in their home visits, and you kind of, like, you're in group chats with them, you get to talk to them. But, I mean, when we got up here for bowl practice, that's when the friendships really, like, stood out, and that's when you actually got to know the people. Right now, my roommate for bowl practice is Nathan Leacock, our receiver. So I'd say me and him have a pretty good bond, but also Sham. I don't even know how to say his whole name because so it's a long one.
We don't either.
Yeah, but that's another good one. He's also a Georgia kid. All the Georgia kids feel like we definitely have some stuff in common. We've played against each other a couple times. But, I mean, the relationships are great, just getting to know people even more. And we haven't even met the whole 23 class.
Really good stuff there from Jack Luttrell, Tennessee signee at the safety position. That was an appearance on Wednesday Sports Talk 99.1 The Sports Animal. All right, guys, that'll do it here for this edition of Locked On Vols. Really do appreciate you guys for hanging out, making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. Make Locked On Sports Today your second listen. Take of the day, biggest storylines, all that good stuff. That is Locked On Sports Today, your second listen, right behind Locked On Vols, your first listen each and every day. Guys, we're a week away from Tennessee and Clemson in the Orange Bowl. Can't wait for that. I'll be down in Miami all next week, bringing you coverage from practice, from press conferences, all that type of stuff. You can always find it right here on Locked On Vols. Same time, same place. We'll be back on Monday. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. Stay safe, and appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Vols.